Hi and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be making an outdoor coffee table that'll have some storage so we can store our patio cushions. So I've made a rough diagram. So overall, the front and back is going to be roughly 43.5 inches, the top by 22 inches. So decided to do like a frame. I'm going to be using some white oak for all the frame and the top. The sides, I'll just use 1/4 inch plywood. My wife wanted this cane webbing fabric, so just to give it some style in all of the panels. So for the frames, they'll all be 2.5 inches wide. And for the front and back, I'll need 2 pieces at 37 inches. And for the sides, 2 pieces at 17 inches. And then these will be 4 at 15 inches and the middle one about 10 inches. So I'm going to start by milling the wood and cutting everything to size for that. Went through my wood rack and found this piece of white oak. It's 5 1/4, so just a little bit of edge planing and should be able to get the 2.5 out of it. And then I've marked for the pieces. This is 37, so I've just made it a little bit bigger for now. 37 1/4. And then 17 1/4 and 15 1/4 and another 15 1/4, and at the end I should get enough for my 10-inch piece. So I get the 2 required from that, the 4 required from this, and the 2 required from that. And that should be all the pieces I need. So I'll go ahead and cut, and after I cut the pieces I'll do some edge joining to get one straight edge, and then I'll rip at 2 1/4 inches. So before I rip it to the 2.5 inches, I'm just going to cut them now to the exact size I want. That way both pieces after ripped will be the exact same length. So this one is 37 exactly. So I'll cut that one and then the rest of them. So actually I wasn't figuring things out well, because each one of these I need 2 of those and 2 of those. So the 37 inch I need 4, not 2, and the 15 inch I need a total of 8, 4 for the back and front and 4 for the sides, and then the 10 is still 2. So let me just mill some more wood to do the rest of these. I've now cut all the pieces to length to use for the frame for the front, back, and 2 sides. You might call the frame with pieces, rails, and stiles like in doors, but anyways. So I'll set the saw to 2.5 inches and do the rip of the boards. So I've got all the pieces cut to size. There was one of the long ones that wasn't quite wide enough, so I cut them all down. And then also to get rid of the blade burn marks, I also jointed them. So now the finished product is just a little over 2 1/4. So I'll adjust the plans accordingly, but that'll be fine. These didn't have to be anything exact. So next step will be to start joining the pieces and then figure out the size of the panels. But I think I'll leave that till tomorrow. I'm in Arizona and right now it's 95 degrees in my shop. So now I'm just going to start with what will be a front or back. So we have the 2 37-inch pieces and 2 of the 15-inch pieces. It'll be assembled like this. like that. And this total width now, since the pieces are smaller, is just a hair over 41.5 inches. The plan is to have 2 panels, so I'll make a mark for the center of this piece. These are 37. So to get the center here, these pieces are 37. I'll mark a center line at half of that, which will be 18.5. 18.5. Verify my calculations. Perfect. Just make that mark for now. And then we have these middle pieces. Haven't cut the size yet. I'll do that just before the actual assembly. Looks like I cut them just slightly too short, which is this one. They're a little over 10 inches. Oh, it's because I made these 2 1/4 instead of 2.5. So now with these pieces, it's just a quarter less than 15. So I'll just have to trim these guys a little bit. So anyways, we'll just continue these panels, the space in between, 17 1/4. So 17 1/4. And I'll have a groove for the panel, be 3/8 on each side. So that's 3/4 of an inch. So panels that way will be 18. And this way, spaces 10 1/8. 10 1/8 plus 3/4. That would be 6 7/8. So 10 7/8. Okay, so I need 2 panels that size. I'll be using 1/4 inch plywood for that, and as mentioned before, be putting some of this cane webbing to give it a different look. Now I could just put this aside for a minute. We'll do the same for the sides. Have the sides. So this one will go like that. Won't have the middle, but so the one measurement should be the same, 10.78. But the sides, that is 17, so that'll be 17 3/4. So I'll need 2 of those. It'll be 17 3/4 by 10 7/8. So let's get the plywood. Again, I'll have to cut these guys down a little bit so that it'll fit with these guys. So before I forget, I think I'm going to cut all these. Like I say, it's more or less like an 8, but I put all these pieces together, and I'll make a mark where that will be cut, and I can cut them all the same thing. Let's say. So it wasn't very much, just an eighth, so not too bad. Sure, it's the same over here. So I'll get all of these pieces that were originally 15. Like I say, now it's just going to be 14 and 7/8, so not a big deal. So I'm going to cut these now so I don't forget. I'll set up the table saw with the miter sled so I can get them all the exact same size. So here's the piece that I marked. I'll adjust the stop here and get it to where it should be cut. Tighten the stop. And then I'll make the cuts for all the pieces. So now they're all exactly the same size. Like I say, just 1/8 less than 15 inches, not a big deal. And the middle pieces for the front should fit perfectly now. So I'll continue with the panels now. I found two pieces that are exactly 18 inches on my plywood rack. So now I can cut these guys. So I'll need 4 at 18 times 10 and 7/8. So I've set my fence to 10 and 7/8. Then I'll need 2 again at 10 and 7/8, but the 18 I'll have to cut after 2 17 and 3/4. So I'll start by cutting these 4 first and then the next 4. For the sides, I need to set to 17 and 3/4. So I'll set the fence to that. And I can cut those 2. All the pieces for the panels are cut. So I have 4 for the front and back and 1 for each side. These are made from Baltic birch, and the frame is going to be the white oak, but I'm not too worried because I'm going to use either a semi-solid stain or solid stain, so it won't matter that I have 2 different wood species. When I grabbed those pieces of plywood, I didn't realize that it's not a 1/4 inch, it's actually 3/8, so a bit thicker. So I thought if I did a groove for the panel in the middle, wouldn't have a lot of thickness on each side left over. So instead, I think I'm going to make it flat here by using a rabbet bit. So after assembly, I'll just make the edge with the rabbet bit, and then the panel will go in flush with the inside. So based on that, I can go ahead and assemble all the pieces for the front, back, and both sides. You can use any kind of assembly method that you want. Easy one, of course, is the Craig pocket holes. Other one would be dowels. Other one is loose tendons. In my case, I do have the domino, so I'm going to use that. So I'll start doing that as the next step. First step in the assembly process will be just to pick the side of the board that you like the best and put them all in the front. I'll just mark these like 1, 2, 3, 4, and just put a little bit of line. How they're going to line up, and I am using 5 by 30 millimeter dominoes, so these will go in like that. And so I just need to make it in these boards this way, in these boards that way, and do the assembly. So I'll start with the domino. Okay, so this board this way, I put a stop there on this jig here, so it'll reference to the edge. So here's the first one. I made this one tight. On the dominoes, there's an adjustment to make them different widths. This one I'll do tight, as used as a good reference, and there I'll do one that is loose so I have to have some play there. So now I do this one. I have to change the stop to the other side. So now I have them both at the same place. Now doing this one. So I'll do this one first. Yeah, so it's just not perfect that way. So I will do this one loose. Just change the adjustment. So that one's a little bit bigger now. So you do have some chance to move the board a little bit. Now I'll do the same thing for this guy. Change the stop. That one's ready to go. Do this one. Change the stop. Do this the right way. That one's done. Now we could do this one. Change the stop. And next we'll do these pieces. Do this one first. I forgot to change the width of that one, but that'll be okay.
My mic went out here, but here I'm just starting the glue up using Type On 3 glue.
So now just set them into clamps. Align everything. All looks good. Tighten the clamp. Flat. Looks good. Just tighten everything up. So the first side is complete. Let this glue cure. And so now off camera, I'll do the other side and back and front. The assembly with glue is now complete. We'll let this cure overnight. Here are all the pieces after the glue up. So before moving further, just going to do some rough sanding to get rid of the glue. So I'll now continue with the rest off camera. For the rabbet for the panel, pick which side you like the best and keep that on the outside. If I knew I was going to do this method of the panel inlaid from the back, I would have waited to cut the panels till the rabbets were cut. But now just have to try to make the rabbets as close as possible. So I have the rabbet bit and just have to pick one of the guides that will be as close as possible. So this one will go way too much. Let me see what the next one will do. And I could always make it bigger if needed. Bearing off. Let's just try the next size. That'll probably work out. These away. Okay, so I'll give that a try. I'll put this into the router. So I've installed the dado bit and put it not too deep so that I'll do 2 or 3 passes. So I'll do the first pass on all the boards and then do a second and third on all. All the rabbets have been cut, and looking at the panel, it's just slightly too big. So I'm just going to trim it a bit both ways. It should fit in nicely. Now the other issue is because of using a router, I have this rounded edge on each corner. So 2 choices. You can chisel it out to make it square or round over the edges. There's plenty of surface here, so I'm going to round off the edges. I have this rocker jig. Looking at the corner, it looks like 5/8 will be the radius. So I'll go ahead and do that on each of the corners after I trim the piece. So the 5/8 round over wasn't enough, so I went to the 3/4, but unfortunately my 3/4 is a bit damaged, so it's not perfect. Maybe I'll fill that in with some epoxy, but it's the inside of the box and the outside looks perfect. So this panel will be ready to glue in. And notice I did put it in just a little bit deeper so that when I do the final sanding, I won't be taking in too much of this veneer off. So I'll continue now with the others, and then I'll glue them all in at the same time. So for the second one, I went back to using the 5/8 because that one's not damaged, and then I sanded it a bit with the disc sander, and it fits a lot better. It looks pretty darn good. So I'll go and continue with the back and front, which has 2 panels each. Just going to lightly sand. And then for the glue, I don't want a lot of squeeze out, so I'm just going to put some glue in a container and then use a small brush. I'm not sure which is best, this or this. Let's try this. Placing glue all around. That should do it. And then we could put in the panel. then I'll just use these clamps here. I think that should be good. So I'll glue up the rest of them off camera and then see what it looks like tomorrow. I'm going to now fill in these gaps with some wood filler. I went to Lowe's and bought this Minwax stainable wood filler. Never used it, but it says fills cracks, gouges, and holes. So let's see how well it works. And I'll go ahead and do the whole thing. Very light stuff. We'll see what it looks like when it's all done. So I'll just continue with all the pieces and wait till that dries, do a light sanding, and we can move on to the next step. The wood filler is fully dried now, so now I'll just do the sanding. Shouldn't be too hard to sand that. So I'll finish sanding the first piece and it looks very good. So I'll continue now with the other three pieces. Use whatever method you plan on using. I have the domino, so I'm going to do it. So this is a side, and just if this was a front, it'll be like this. So the sides will be doing on the edges, and on the front it'll be sort of on the inside. So I'll start doing that now. I'll do the first one. Again, the domino does have these little tabs used as reference, so they'll all be the same. These side ones I'll be doing like with the tight domino. So here are the ones on the side, and then again the front. We'll be doing it on this edge, so I'll continue with that next. Now I've made the cuts for all the dominoes. So just put this into the side. These were made a little bit tighter. And then put this into the side, or the front piece. Everything fits very nice. Like say with the other one, you have a little chance to play if things are not perfect. Before doing the assembly with glue, I'm going to apply the cane. I bought this on Amazon, so I'll have to be cut to size. And then for glue, wasn't sure what to use, but I did buy this Gorilla wood glue. It says dry clear, so that's what I wanted. It can be used indoor, outdoor, dries crystal clear, and good for wood projects. So that'll be the next step, to cut all the pieces and glue that in. I applied the cane webbing onto one of the pieces. Of course, if you didn't want that, you could just use the panels as is and start the assembly. This turned out pretty well. The cane cut easily with just scissors, so I cut it to size. Then I applied this glue, Gorilla Dries Clear Wood Glue, just using this brush here, and applied it. And then I had a piece of parchment paper to put down so the glue wouldn't stick to the wood. And I cut another piece of plywood, put it in there, perfect size. Then I applied a bunch of weights and until the glue set. So I'll continue with the same procedure with all the rest of the panels. I completed installing all the cane webbing on all the pieces. Initially, I just used the cane webbing fresh out of the package and it's all curled up when you get it. This did make things a little bit difficult because it just wants to curl all the time. So on the Amazon site, it did say to make it easier to use, to soak it in water for 15 to 30 minutes. So for the last few, I did do that. You can see this is much flatter, easier to work with. So I would suggest soaking it in water for 15 to 30 minutes. I did do 30 minutes. That, and then only issue is then you gotta wait till it dries if you're using glue like me. So that's just a tip I would do if you were to do a similar project. Now we can go ahead and start the assembly. I'll start with adding the dominoes to the side pieces. So I'll just add these. So that just hold it together while I add the clamps to ensure everything's square. Going to add these guys before tightening up the clamps. That should keep everything nice and square. Do the same on the other side. Just make sure everything's nice and even everywhere. And then tighten the clamps. Then we can go in a little bit. Just use this clamp to get it flush. Looks good. And I'll tighten this one. Looks good both ends. Everything looks good on that side. Good there. Tighten this one. Everything looks square. I only have 4 of these, so I need to use 2 per each. So I'll have the diagonals, and I'll do the opposite diagonals on the other side. So now I'll just flip this over. Shouldn't need this guy anymore. Now I could flip it over. So it looks good. So we'll just let this glue set overnight, and then I can start cutting wood for the top. Got all my pieces of white oak cut. So the rough top right now is like 43 by 24.5. So after it's glued up, it'll be cut to the perfect size. Normally I don't do anything in the glue up, but I think I will put a domino in the middle. So the boards seem to be a little bit warped. That'll help get them even. So I'll just make a line halfway through at about 21.5. Do a line. Have here, 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 here. So I'll just cut one domino in each board where it's needed and do the glue up. The glue up for the top is complete, so I'll just let the glue cure overnight. Tomorrow take it out of the clamps and do some sanding and cut it to the perfect size, and the top will be done. Here's the top after the glue up. It looks pretty good. It'll require a bunch of sanding. I've completed all the sanding on both the base and the top. Now I'm looking at the bottom. So for the bottom, I have 2 choices. Either cut something to fit exactly in and maybe use pocket holes to secure it in, Or in my case, I'm going to do the same thing as I did for these panels. I'll do a rabbet all around. So I'll be using the same rabbet bit. I'll probably do it in several passes, changing the depth. I'll start with this bearing and see what it looks like. And if I think there's not enough, then I'll change the bearing to a smaller one. So I'll get started on that. So I did 3 passes to make the 1/2 inch rabbet. Actually made it just a slight bit more so the edge of the white oak will protrude a little bit. Now I'll just sand the edges a little bit and then measure for the bottom. I think the rabbet, as it is pretty good. Still have enough strength over here and a good enough glue area. Now I'll measure for the top. I'm seeing just a hair under 41. And this is around 22 3/8. So I'll cut out that piece of plywood next. So just like the panels, using the router bit, you have rounded corners here. So 2 choices is to chisel it square or round over the corners of the plywood. And that's what I'll do next. I just have to slightly sand edges to get it to fit in there. It fits very nicely. So next step will be to apply glue and clamp it into place. And after that's set, be ready for the staining process. So here's the bottom glued in. Just use some spacers so it would be clamped properly. So I'll let that cure overnight and we'll move on to the next step. The bottom is all in, glue it cured overnight. Now I'll measure for the top. Here I've got 41 5/8. 41 5/8. I'll probably have about a 1/2 inch over the edges, so that'll be 42 5/8 that way. And this way, got 23, and again, 1/2 inch each side, so it'll be 24. So I'll go ahead and cut the top now. The top has been cut to size, and I think it looks really good. Next step now is to do the staining. Before applying the stain, I'm going to use this Minwax pre-stained wood conditioner. It's supposed to help for blotching and stuff. So you apply it, wipe off any excess within 5 minutes, then wait 15 to 30 minutes to apply the stain. So I'm going to initially do the bottom of the cabinet or base, whatever you want to call it, and the bottom of the top. So I'll start with that first. And just apply it very thin and water-like. Probably didn't really need to do this on the bottom, but I'm going to do it anyways. So now I'll wait 30 minutes before applying the stain. Of course, if you just like the natural wood, you didn't need these steps, you could have just went straight to your clear finish. As per direction, before applying the stain, I did sand with a 320 grit sandpaper. So now we'll open up the stain. In my case, I'm using Minwax wood finish, semi-transparent color stain, dark walnut, 2716. Okay, it looks nice and thick. Pretty nice. So I'll start applying it first on the bottom and then the bottom of the top. About half of this bottom done, I'll continue the rest off camera. Here's the bottom of the base after staining. I think it looks pretty good. And the top. So it says it dries in 1 to 2 hours. So I might do the clear coat before I do the rest of the staining.
Again, my mic failed to record, but at this point, I'm adding the clear finish. I'm using Minwax Indoor-Outdoor Helmsman Spar Urethane. It's water base and clear satin.
I completed both sides of the top using the 3-step process of pre-stain, stain, and 3 coats of the Spar Urethane. Also completed the bottom and the inside of the box. Next step is to do the outside of the box. For staining of the outside, I was just wondering what might be the best method, using the regular brush method or spraying. So I'm going to try to use this Cricut sprayer to spray and then wipe off excess right away. So let's see how that works. I think I like the color of the stain not wiped off, so that's what I did. I'll just have to check with my wife if she likes it. If she does, then I'll probably re-sand the top and spray it the same way to match. Other option will be that I'll just sand the outside and brush the outside to match the top. We both like the finish of just the sprayed stain without wipe off. So going to sand this top part. I'm going to leave the bottom and the inside as is. Just don't want to have to sand all that. So I'm going to sand the top, restain it with the sprayer, and then finish the whole thing off with the Spar Urethane. So I've sanded the top with various grits of sandpaper. So now I'll be taking this outside and spraying the stain on just like I did for the bottom sides. I'm now going to use my Cricut sprayer to spray the Helmsman Spar Urethane. I finished the first coat. I let that dry for 2 hours and continue with 2 more coats. I'm now going to install the casters. I did buy these on Amazon. They're metal casters. I'm just going to have it so that the wheel doesn't protrude. So I'll just do this roughly 1/2 inch in each corner. That should be good. Bottom plywood's not too thick. I did buy some number 12 5/8 screws. I'm just grinded the tips so just in case it goes through, and I'll be using 1 washer. So I'll start by just doing a little pilot hole. And then put in screw with a washer. So I'll continue with all 4 casters and then it'll be ready to flip over. The 4 casters now all been installed. It should be pretty solid, I think. So now I'll just flip it over and work on attaching the hinges for the top. Because my garage was 101 degrees this morning, I thought I'd do the final assembly of this project in my den. The final step is to attach the top. I wasn't sure exactly what kind of hinges to use, as I do want it to have a lip all around. So I'm going to try these three-fold shutter hinges. So I'm hoping that that will work.
I missed the recording of the step previous to this where I was measuring for the placement of the hinges. I decided to put them about 6 inches from each side. So at this point, I've made the mark on the one side and making the mark on the second side now.
I've set the router depth to be the thickness of the hinge. Let me start with that.
Wanted the top to be pretty flush, so I'm mortising the hinges.
This is fitting just nicely now. So I'll do the same thing for the other one. So I did both sides for the hinges. And now before installing the hinges, I'm going to apply the stain to the exposed edge now. So I'm ready now to install the hinges. So this will go like here. I'm going to do a pilot hole. Put in the first screw. I've placed the top on it, and I place it so it's all centered, about ½ inch all around it. And this is the back where the hinge is. So I'm just going to mark where that is for both hinges. And again, I'm just going to use the router. And I can flip the top over. Have the two marks. Then you could use another hinge and sort of mark exactly how far to go with that. I think it's around like that. Then I'll go ahead and do the other one and then use the router again. Here it is after doing the routering. I just did a little more depth at the edge here so that the edge will go in. So that'll fit just like that. Same thing with the other side. It'll just help to make the top a little bit more flat, but I'll probably still use some bumpers in the front. So now I'll just put some of the stain on there. In order to aid with the installation of the top, I made a couple of these things out of plywood. I already clamped one to that edge, so I'm just going to put this one on. Get it level all around, front and back. Tighten them up. And this will support the top. Center it. It's nice is the plywood's ½ inch, so it's pretty much even. Now I'll start by putting a pilot hole. See how that works. Works very nice. So I'll put the other two in. So here it is with the top fully screwed in to the hinges. It's working just as I had hoped. Now this top is pretty heavy, has its solid white oak. So I think I'm going to have to put what they call lid support hinges, put one on each side. So that'll be, should be the next and last step. I'm going to be showing the installation of these Caboso heavy duty lid stay hinges. They come in a package of two like this. And inside the back package you have the hinge. Works like that. And this one is, as they call it, a stay close. So wherever you put it, it stays, and then you can lift it and it'll stay there. Now they did come apart, so in pieces. So you have to put them together. Instructions are not very good for that, but it doesn't look too complicated. So depending which side, say this will be this left side. So you put these little nylon washers. There's one on each side. Then a bolt. This one, let's go the other way. And then the bracket where the screws will go. Doesn't come with a Phillips screwdriver. We need a Phillips screwdriver to tighten this. And there you go. Now we can do the top one. Again, has these two nylon washers. And the bolts. And the bracket to screw it. And that's all you need here. It also comes with an Allen wrench so that you can adjust the tension once it's installed. So that'll be the one for the left side, and then you can do the same thing for the one on the right side. So I've got the two of them finished. This would be for the right side. This will go onto the box and this to the top. So we have both of them, and they fold this way for the top. Now these hinges could be used like what I'm using them for a basically a chest. In my case, it's a coffee table, or they could be used for, say, upper cabinet too, if you wanted them to open like that. So in the instructions, you do have the choice to having it open 75 degrees, 90 degrees, or 110. The difference is the measurement. Everything's in millimeters, so I'll have to work with that. I've decided that I'll do it at about 110 degrees, which would be something like that. 90 would be like that, and 75 would be like this. So depending if it's a box like this or an upper cabinet, it's like 110. So based on that, they have measurements of 130 and 32 millimeters. So just made this template. So I measured 130 millimeters and 37 across, and use this as a template. So I've placed my template here, put it against the back and align it with the top. Should be good. And I'll just mark two holes. And I could just do a pod hole. Put in the screw. drill a hole, pilot hole. Second screw. Okay, so that's the first part. Now this will go like that. Bring this up just a little bit maybe. Make sure it's straight. Something like that. First hole. Put in a screw. Get it nice and straight. Right now, this is a heavy top, so it's not making it stop, but there's an adjustment there. See if it'll make a difference, but well, it's not working with just one. So anyways, we'll see after I install the second one. Hopefully it'll work. Otherwise, these didn't do the trick. It's supposed to stop wherever you want it to stop. But this is very heavy. So let's try to do the other one. Using the same template, but in reverse. Mark the two spots. Well, it's not doing the job I hoped for, but it'll hold it there from falling all the way down, but the intent was supposed to be that it would stay in place. Yeah, that's as tight as I can go. Although they're not working quite as I had hoped they would, they'll still be okay in this stop position. And it stays in that position, stays in that position, or be like a soft close, and then hard. But it'll do the trick mainly because I can just leave it like this. That's no problem, or all the way. Looking at the instructions, I think I just may have made this part of the hinge the wrong way. It should be flipped, so I'm just going to quickly do that. I'm not sure if it really matters about the operation. It does seem to be working, but let's just see what happens if I do that. That way it's done the way the instructions shows. So I just flip that around to look like that. I guess it's not such an easy thing. That would have to be moved also. Okay, that means I need to remove this one too. I'll put in the first two first. This one. See if I can just reuse one hole. Like I said, I'm not sure if it makes that much of a difference, but that is the proper way. So let me just make this hole now. Put in a screw. Like I say, I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but it's the proper way. So I can do the third hole. So I could just fill in this hole and just touch it up with some stain and urethane. So I'll just do the exact same thing to the other side so that they match. Here's my storage outdoor coffee table at its intended location under our covered patio. As mentioned, it's a coffee table as well as a storage place for our outdoor cushions that we use at our fire pit. So this was designed to fit these 4 cushions nicely. And it's plenty deep enough to put more stuff in there. This now concludes this video of this build. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks again for watching and hope to see you again soon. Bye.